as you already know, home sales slowed down in March. And we knew that. We felt that. The National Association of Realtors released its home sales report for March, and the report had a bunch of interesting data. But don't worry, slowing home sales might actually be creating your next opportunity. Let's look at the data and then let's talk about the opportunities. First, sales declined. Existing home sales fell by 5.9% year over year in March, marking a seasonally adjusted annual sales rate of just over 4 million units, 4.02. It's the slowest pace since 2009, and it was a 2.4% drop for the previous March. So a significant slowdown. And like I said, we already felt this. What's really unique, though, is home prices continue to increase. And it's very weird that sales are decreasing and home prices, albeit by just a little bit, are increasing. And in fact, they increased 2.7% year over year in March. They reached a median home price of $403,700. And like I said, that's unusual for home prices to continue to increase when sales are decreasing. We're actually starting to see home prices flatten out. They'll most likely, in my opinion, my guess, I should say, probably stay flat throughout the rest of the year, with some markets seeing a little bit of softening. Now, the inventory is still tight, although it grew by 8.1% month over month in March. So it was 8.1% more inventory in March than the previous month. And it grew to 1.33 million units. And of course, today, at the end of April, we have far more units than that. But still, supply is historically low with just a 4-month supply. Now, some markets are getting to be a buyer's market or a neutral market, but it's still a relatively low months of supply. Homes stayed on the market for an average of 36 days in March. That's up from 33 days a year ago, but down from 42 days in February. So good trend there. Days on the market, good trend. All cash buyers in March accounted for 26% of the total transactions. That's down from 32% the previous month, and it's actually down from 28% the previous year. So interesting. But by the way, historically, cash buyers account for about 20% of all transactions. In the last decade, it's gone up closer to 25%. So 26% doesn't really tell us anything. It's in the neutral zone. First-time home buyers made up of 32% of the market. First home buyers keep showing up. And interestingly, builders are doing a great job serving that first-time home buyer. So let me show you. I'm using 2 articles today to highlight these points. Let me show you the first one. Here's one from National Association of Home Builders. This is a great article. You should subscribe to the free newsletter. Gives you existing home sales. Shows you about the difference between condo and single family. Goes on by region. You can see Midwest is doing okay, but with a large drop. If you really think the Northeast is really kind of going flat. Here's pending home sales, which you can see are dropping. Have dropped from the peak. They're dropping seasonally. So that's the first article. The second article is at Inman. Same thing, based on the same NAR reports. And I believe they had just their key points here that you see by region. We don't really care about that so much. So I said, look, fewer sales could be an opportunity. One, when there's fewer sales, if you do one more sale than you do the year before or the month before, you actually get an outsized gain in market share. If that makes sense. Let's say you're in a marketplace and you're doing 2 deals, whatever it is, 2 deals out of 100, right, last year. And this year, you're doing 3 deals out of 90, your market share has grown significantly. So every extra unit you can do in this market exponentially grows your market share. So really dig in and see if you can't dig out those units. I know everybody's trying really hard. And I know these transactions are tough, and you gotta just put them on life support and carry them across the finish line and fight all sorts of people from trying to steal it. But here's the other thing. This is really interesting. Another thing, I've talked about this before. Even though the unit sales are down, dollar volume's up. Dollar volume's up in most markets, even though unit volume's down. That's because we've had appreciation. And regardless of where dollar volume is, there's still more units per participant than there's been in several years. And so if you're a loan officer, there's more average loans per month per loan officer in today's market than there was 2 years ago. Significantly more. As a matter of fact, this year they expect to have a 42% increase in the average unit count by month for loan officers than they did last year. And last year had an average increase of 18%. Now, we're nowhere near the average monthly volumes of 2000 and 2001, but nevertheless, this year is far better than last year and better than the year before. And so good. And so not only are you eating up market share, but you should have a chance to do more business this year. So don't worry about the headline number about home sales are slowing. And by the way, it looks like it's still undecided, but the spring season's off to a unsteady start. Some markets are good, some markets are soft. I think overall there's a lot of pent-up demand. If we can just kind of calm the economy down, calm the national psyche down, we'll probably have an okay spring. If we can't get those things calmed down, it's anybody's guess. So the thing I suggest is just keep focusing on people that want to buy. Commit to a longer-term incubation phase, right? If the average first-time home buyer is 38, you may actually get a referral to a buyer in their 20s, and you may have to incubate them for 10 years. Now, I hope that's not the case, but make sure you have strategies that have long-term incubation journeys in your CRM and in your customer service package. And then just make sure you're really on top of market dynamics so that you're letting your buyers know when there's great opportunities. You're familiar with the concessions. I talked about concessions last week, what kind of concessions are available in the market and where housing prices are going and the cost of houses relative to increasing incomes, all those type of things. You know that. But just want to share with you, that's from NAR. I posted both two articles, Inman and National Association of Home Builders. Now, you can always check this out. I do several posts on LinkedIn every day. Check me out on LinkedIn. I'll also put links to the article below. I appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your time. Hope you have a great day. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks.